There we go. Welcome, folks, to Tell Us About Yourself, featuring Craig Brett, better known as the Meeple. I am one of your hosts, ChibiBT, and of course, we have Dustin Garman, our main host. What's up, Dustin?
Hey, what's up, guys? Just don't really have announcements going on here. I know summer's kind of getting crazy and stuff, but I'm loving this weather. How about you, Craig?
Thanks for having me. Chicago weather right now is 65 and rainy, but
Ugh.
I have been enjoying not needing to shovel my driveway. Been loving the warm weather, but the rain is definitely needed. I had some dry sod. So as you get older, sometimes it is fun to watch the grass grow.
Good to
And
hear.
kind of moving on along, of course, we're both in the union, but getting to know you some and stuff like that. I met you first at Grand Gathering 3. How was that for you? Was that one of your first events, or I'm kind of getting to know you myself a little
Sure.
bit. So
So I actually play tested at Origins a few years ago, and now I know that the person that I play tested with was the Mad Custodian,
Ah,
and it was because of his interaction and his level of energy that me and my buddy bought the game. But I didn't start playing it right away. I threw it on the shelf with a bunch of other games that I had. And then after Origins, or no, after Gen Con last year, I went to locals for the first time and borrowed a deck, played against Alec V, got second place, and I was kind of hooked. I was like, man, I should buy my own cards that aren't uh, Rambo Girl and see what I can do. And I got hooked from there. I was like, oh man, everything's online. Uh, let's try to figure this out. And that's where I saw the CCC, and I'm like, I'm not ready for that. I wouldn't know uh, what character to go into or like how interacting works online. So then I saw the Rising Stars, and I jumped into that, saying I'd love a veteran, not necessarily to teach me how to play or to win, but how to interact online so that I come in and can be likable instead of come through as like a Magic the Gathering player who's just there to win or lose and leave.
mhm.
But
I
to
got
your
you.
question about Grand Gathering, that was like my first in person with multiple people outside of our small locals, and that was 4 days of fantastic play. Loved every minute of it.
And you were saying Magic Play. What actually was your background with gaming before you jumped into Super Show?
My first gaming was Magic the Gathering in late 90s in middle school. Played Magic the Gathering through high school, and a little bit into college, and then not having funds to go travel and not having my high school friends at the local game shop, that kind of fell off. Started going to Gen Con 10 years ago, and initially we just played Legacy Magic the Gathering, but then we were spending $300 to $600 a year to play once a year and not be successful. So about 6 years ago or so, we started diving more into board games. And so I sold some of my cards, bought into board games, started playing those. And when uh, the pandemic shut everything down, our high school friend group actually rekindled through playing online. And we started using Tabletop Simulator and started playing board games twice a week, playing Dungeons and Dragons. And that's what got me back into solid gaming. Um, but then once I dove into uh, Super Show, I was remembering where prices were with Magic the Gathering before the pandemic and how they skyrocketed, and having a FOMO, fear of missing out. So I started going into collection mode like right away. I'm like, this is, even though this game has been around for 10 years, things with the mindset of Magic the Gathering are still relatively affordable and available to collect, try to get that one of everything, which is so much easier than Magic the Gathering, where it's like, here's a great card, you need 4 of them, good luck.
That'll cost you $500 per card.
Yeah.
So, Magic the Gathering was pretty much your only card game that you played before this. Let's go about it from the other side then. What was your first interaction with wrestling?
So wrestling, when I was in middle school, my play group from Magic the Gathering and Dungeons and Dragons would also watch wrestling. My brother was into wrestling, so I was like the mid '90s wrestling kind of guy. Stone Cold Steve Austin. I was watching when The Rock was hitting big time and going from uh, the People's Champion to the corporate champion,
Bombable.
back to the People's Champion. Was a big Mick Foley fan, and had even gone to a couple in-person events. But I was only into wrestling as far as watching it as a fan for maybe about 3 years or so. And then as high school hit, I kind of
Same
moved
thing
into
with
other
like Magic.
things.
You jumped away from it when your friend group that was the real reason for it disappeared.
Well, so they were still watching it in high school. It's just that I wasn't as much into following from week to week what the storylines were, and
Oh,
so it was fun when it was on, but I still enjoyed other TV, and then I just kind of bounced around to other things. So I was into it for a couple of years.
okay. So mid '90s wrestling fan, competitive card game background, coming into Super Show, hitting the ground running, wanting to collect as much as he could, wanting to make an impact relatively quickly, right?
Correct.
Okay.
But enter, in the right way. Don't, come through the door, you know, picking a gimmick and then getting kicked out of the discussion group, first day sort of thing.
So what do you think is the correct way?
So it's hard because I only know the online era. I wasn't around for the in-person, and we're just kind of getting back into the in-person. This will be my first origins being active in it, but I feel the correct way is to either getting hooked in person and getting attached to 1 or 2 people in the community at the event that you got hooked on, and they can walk you through, or having a locals group that can really help you transition into online if online's where you want to play. Because my locals, it's a 40-minute drive once a week, and it's not even at a card shop, it's at a restaurant. So we don't even have dedicated space to play, and it's always up in the air how many people are going to show up.
Okay.
So finding where do you enjoy that play, and then having people help acclimate you to that play.
And what do you think? What is your preferred way of playing? Even though you've only gotten a taste of in person, do you feel that it's similar to online play? It's a whole different feel. It's just
I
not the same.
prefer in-person play, just because there's so much more that you can see and interact with. It's faster pace
Mhm.
versus watching where everything is in front of you, making sure that it's on screen, having the secondary thoughts of, is my hand on camera, but not showing my cards to make sure that someone doesn't get angry at 3 10s and then call me a cheater.
Okay.
So I prefer in person. The energy is just there.
Mhm. Okay, so you said you're going to be at Origins. What about any other shows?
So annually I do Origins in Gen Con.
Okay, so you'll also be there for Gen Con.
Correct.
With Origins being what? Next week?
Two,
Or 2 days away?
yeah, week and a half.
Week and a half?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was like, it's not next week, right? Or it's not this coming week. Yeah.
It's not the week that we're in now,
Yeah.
but yeah, next week, next Wednesday, I will be down there.
Mhm. I know that currently there's still a struggle between James Booker and Calais to see who will actually plan out the card for what matches happen. Would you be willing to take a title shot if it was given to you?
So my answer now is from a different perspective than it was maybe 4 months ago.
Mhm.
I'm starting to understand the business and the storylines and the community and building it. And I think if it fed the overall narrative and it wasn't just because I was out there, I was convenient and they needed somebody, but that there was a reason it was being offered to me, yes, I would take a
Okay.
title shot.
Because it just happens that every now and again, the person that they need to be there won't be there, and they're gonna just look for whoever they can. And the Meeple is definitely a character that is slowly but surely being known by more and more people. So that's why I asked that.
Yes.
Okay. And then going into that, what was the idea about what was the idea about the gimmick for the Meeple? Like what is the Meeple's backstory?
So the backstory of the creation of the Meeple was when I started buying payoff packs and Mr. Ray packs, I got a foil set of Mr. C.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, here's a character that someone had created that isn't just wrestling based. Like they brought a theme of card based play into the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I, over the last 2 years, have been big into board games, building my collection, and have fell upon uh, games that have a board control aspect to it. So worker placement using meeples has been kind of the play style that I fell into. And when doing Rising Stars, uh, I had first saw Colossal Smash, loved what it did, how it wrecked me, and then saw Najamai was the right skill set to run it, and that's what I dove into. And from playing that and being able to do board control, it just kind of put it all together. And I decided that the meeple and board control would kind of be my gimmick.
Okay. What do you? But what about the character of the Meeple himself? Or
So,
there
so,
there are multiple Meeples. There's like
yeah, so on the card, and if you have the graphic, if you want to share it
that's what
on the
I'm
stream,
trying to pull up the graphic at the map. But go ahead, keep going.
sure. So um, one of the jokes that I have with some of my friends who've played games and play D&D is, what would our character look like if we had to use our real life stats? Like, would I even have an agility 5? Would my strength be above a 7? And so I was thinking about that, and my character out there is the Meeple. I've joined the Unionverse, and the idea of the Meeple's champion came out. So when creating the card, it's like, I will be one of the grumpy groupies for the Meeple. I will be one of the Meeples to the Meeple's champion. And so in the art, you'll see the 4 Meeples in the background are actually me in my Meeple suit. But then you have the Meeple's champion in red looking very different. And he is the actual wrestler, the competitor, to be on the card and doing the moves.
Okay,
Because
because yeah, he definitely looks sort of like a mix between like a red hot chili pepper and like the Tick.
yeah, so the Tick is like what's in the back of my mind when I see that art.
Mhm.
That, I didn't present the Tick as being like the
The
um
idea behind it, but
the correct. Like I
there we
found a
go.
bodybuilder art, and then I had myself in as the Meeple, and the artist came up with this
Mhm.
and had the hair out and showed the teeth, and I was like, I really like the contrast on here where he's not fully in a suit. You see the aspects of him, and we tweaked it a little bit, and I loved it.
Okay, so it's just the Meeple's champion is the one that is actually the wrestler. And then the
Correct.
rest of the meeples are just you in different colored meeple, in different colored costumes.
Correct.
What one for each of the stat line minus technique?
Yes.
What did that one just get cut out just because of how much space, or?
Yeah, so the concept initially wasn't necessarily let's get a color for each one of the stat lines and
Mhm.
try to get all 6 on there. The concept art that I used were a couple of different meeples, like standing in a V. Hold on, Richard, can you find mine? Okay, give me just 1 second.
No problem.
Oh, you're fine, buddy.
So the concept was them standing in a V,
Mhm.
and I was like, man, I'd really like to see this, because that kind of brings out the whole board control aspect of he's not in there alone. He can bring in additional help,
Mhm.
and then in the future, I uh, can think about that in having the art of all of the fans around the ring actually being meeples in different colors.
Ah.
Um, and so as the art was out there, the boss was working on it live and just did some fantastic things tweaking with it, and having kind of their color turn into like a light contrast in the back,
Yeah.
and it just works out really well.
Minus the
And
one that's the finish strike, because that one just looks like it's like a raid going on in the background.
oh, with the purple, just go
Yeah.
like this, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, I was talking more of the competitor itself, the face card,
Oh yes, yes,
and what
yes.
he did with that.
Mhm. It looks phenomenal. The artwork and the fact that the other meeples get into play for like board control. There's an extra meeple. You don't normally see 4 characters on a singles competitor for it, but it makes sense when the meeple's champion has all the meeples ready to help him.
Correct.
Granted,
And so
I'm
board
just trying to think of a board game that uses meeples that is cooperative, because usually most of the board games that I ever played that have the little wooden figures, that it's always like you're playing against your opponent.
right, semi-cooperative
Mhm.
or competitive.
Mhm.
First thing that comes to my mind as soon as I think of Meeples, I always think of the old game Rampage, where the dragons throw the trash at the like the buildings with Meeples and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
uh,
So, what do you say to some people that say your competitor is probably ridiculously overpowered?
The thing that I say to those people is to close their mouth until after it gets past playtest and is printed.
Okay.
That's what I say to them.
And how has Boss been has Boss said anything during playtest?
No, I haven't heard anything about the Meeples champion since the art was kind of finalized into the cards.
Mm-hmm.
I do know that with the creation live, he was like, okay, drop is on a lot of cards. That's too strong with how many stops it's on. Let's have it be just during your turn, which then does change it a little bit,
Well,
makes it
it removes the potential of board control during stops, which
correct.
would be ridiculously powerful.
Right. And
But
another reason why I made it a grapple 10 instead of a power 10
Mhm.
is I wanted to remove um the ability of playing Colossal Smash without like manipulation in the deck.
Mhm. I mean, I think there's a drop at 14 anyway that you could play
There is.
offensively. So,
Yeah.
mhm. But so the fact that you can blow up your own cards with it, control your own board, brings a lot of fun things, a la Mila Maya, as we were talking about, which was the idea behind this. Being able to blow up your own cards is sometimes more powerful than blowing up your opponent's cards. Alien Boot Drop at 13. Granted, you don't want to put an Alien Boot Drop on your 5, but I guess you play it offensively and just you draw one. Each player draws one card, and you blow up a card in play. Still doesn't sound that bad.
Right.
Oh,
Um
Alien Boot Drop's on 14. I thought that was the
no, Alien Invasion, I
no.
no.
Alien Boot Drop
Yeah,
is
Alien
the
Boot Drop is
grapple. Okay, so
14.
it is a stop. Oh, that's even better. Okay.
Yeah, so it's a live stop. And it blows up if used offensively.
Okay. And of course, it does have the Unionverse faction logo on it, so that is
Yeah.
good to see. Uh, what is your position in the Unionverse? May I ask?
So my character position in the Unionverse is the disgruntled janitor, uh, the the cleanup crew, per se. So the person that's called in when someone else has made a mess and has to come in and clean it up. Foreman's been running his mouth, and now two factions are coming at us. Bring in the cleanup crew to come into a match and set things straight.
Okay. Uh, yeah. Usually me. Okay. I'm just looking at the text, and yes, Bombada Necroluna dropped is a fantastic 13 in there. Add a card, blow up a card. Seems pretty good to me.
just to ask, because you were in Union Verse way before me. What was it like, joining your first, I guess, faction and getting to know everybody?
So the way that it came about is I was in Rising Stars with Foreman. He was just creating his character for CCC. He was in my pod. And you know, when I played him for the pod match, I won. And then I sat on the call for maybe 30 more minutes to just go over deck construction and play because he had a passion for all aspects of the game, not just get in there, be better, and win, but also building a community, building something that can help support others. And so I saw him creating the Unionverse, and my locals, we don't have a faction. I wasn't going to join a faction down south where my coaches were. So it just felt right being like a supportive character for what Joe was trying to build. And so I think I found a right spot in there where I can be a goofball, I can troll a little bit and feed off of the energy of the other members. I think a great pickup was Slamilton. He really added some dynamic to it, brought in some an old school name and credibility into the faction that just makes it overall fun.
So we touched a little bit onto the Unionverse. We're going to get back to future aspects and the like in a bit, but we are at the middle of our programming, which means that we are going to go into our rude Johnny. Rude. We're going to go into our quick fire questions right now.
Okay.
So, first and foremost, we have pineapple or sheep.
Pineapple.
Cheese or pickle.
I would go with cheese.
Cat or dog.
Cat.
Horse or shark.
Prefer shark.
Candyman Dan or Candyman.
Candy ma'am.
And then Nightmare King or the Dark Prince.
I hear Nightmare King was the face, so I'll go with Nightmare King.
There we go. Okay. Good to hear. Good to hear. Good answers all around. I always love it when people do it. Slamilton or emo, ma'am? Okay, Slamilton is asking Slamilton or emo.
I mean, it's always Slamilton because he needs a win eventually.
Oh.
Love you, Slammy.
Well, thank you for answering all of those questions. And we're going to the audience for this one. The Italian Babada asks, do you have a different colored hard hat to match each meeple?
No, I have commandeered my son's yellow hat. The Unionverse doesn't necessarily 100% bleed over into the meeple and the different color aspects of it, but that is something that I hadn't looked into before, and I might need to.
So a little more looking into stuff. Okay, okay. So let's see. We have a hand up inside of the audience. If the PAX Unplugged champion, the Dark Prince, would please unmute and ask his question.
What's going on there, Frank? What I heard that you like my old character, which everyone does, but I don't know why people don't like the Dark Prince, which I'm bad and I'm evil. But anyways, long story short, I have a couple questions to ask you.
Okay.
One of them is, who would be your dream opponent in the LFF?
I would love, like in a year's time after some development was done, to be title match either for the title or defending the title with Piglet on the other side.
Yeah, we definitely can't stand the big picture. I can understand that part. I can't stand them either. Second part of this question I'm going to ask you, if you were in any company and you were going after the tag team titles, which company will you go to and who will you bring with you?
Because I was a 90s guy, in wrestling, I think I would do old WWF with uh, the Newman Rock, the corporate champion.
Okay, fair enough. That will be your tag team partner. All right, well,
Yes.
carry on.
Thank you,
And
Mikey.
thank you,
No
Dark
problem.
Prince, for that question, like
No
always.
problem.
Okay. So, currently factioned with the foreman, with his group of people. No titles in the picture yet. What aspirations do you have for the rest of this year going forward?
For the rest of this year, we're starting to discuss faction wars, and what that will look like for the Union. And faction of the year is something that I'm really trying to support Foreman and the rest of the Unionverse on. I would love to get my gameplay caliber up to something more consistent where when I am doing online play, I'm getting more top cuts. But as far as like overall aspirations, I think faction of the year is probably that top one for this year.
Faction of the year, and for your entire faction in general, that is both a mix of outstanding play and storyline based. And the Unionverse has been putting on a lot of putting out a lot of stories as of late. Your promos are
Correct.
actually also some of the better promos that we've been seeing lately.
Thank you.
What do you think that the rest of the Union can do to make that jump up in play? Because currently the Union's been doing all right. Every now and again they'll have a top cut, but they haven't broken that glass ceiling yet. What do you think the
Right.
Unionverse in its whole needs to do to break that glass ceiling?
So I think just for the online play that we have to be a little bit more consistent in how many online nights we're playing and going in force, having the numbers. But I don't think there's a whole lot that we have to do to really jump into our play. HR has been seeing some consistent top cuts, and Joe's been seeing some top cuts as well. I get into top cuts maybe half the time that I play, so if we're not winning the tournaments, I don't think that's a failure, because we are a newer faction with newer players, and the fact that we're having fun in the community is the win. If we don't win faction of the year because our play isn't there, it's not consistent, then it is what it is. That's not the reason that Joe started the faction. But it's an aspiration of mine. I think it's something that we can be a contender in, and so it's something to strive for.
Okay. Good. Yes, Mikey, you have also gotten some top cuts. All right. So let's do a little bit of hype, like mine, or what is it called? God, I hate when the word. Let's
Were you
build a
trying to
card
say?
of the
Okay.
Unionverse going for every single title in the LFF.
Okay.
What in your mind is the best path for each person in your group?
I
Starting,
mean,
we'll start right now with the hardcore title, because that one actually is within reach for a couple of these members.
Right. Hardcore, Mikey Nichols is third in line for it, and I think he has the possibility of getting there. He does have some decks that he's pretty consistent with. He already has his competitor set up, so that gives him, 2-3 months to start building and playtesting with it. While it's still relatively new for everyone, so I think he's got a strong shot there. We do have the Intergalactic currently, so depending on what this intergalactic war is like and what's thrown at Bridge, I feel like he has the chance of holding on to it for a little while.
Who knows? LFF Trios Championship.
Trios champion.
Who
We
out
don't
of your group do you think could take that?
we don't do a whole lot on the tornado and trios, so it would be hard to know who has the best skill on that. But possibly HR could hold it down if she had some nice deck teching.
So HR. All right. Then we have the tornado tag.
Tornado, I would probably throw Dustin in the mix on that one.
Dustin, how do you feel about that?
Tornado and singles always been a favorite of mine. I'm not as much on trios as much, but Tornado, it's been a while since I played it, but I've been playing long enough. I should know how to play every way, so I'd be more comfortable with Tornado or single.
Okay. Tag champion. So what two do you think would make the best duo out of your group?
I would like to see Jared and Foreman. I know that
Jared
they've
and
had
Foreman.
some experience playing in person as a tag.
Okay. Underworld title.
Slamilton.
Hamilton. And last but not least, the world heavyweight champion.
Since it's my interview, I will say me.
There we go. That's exactly what we wanted to hear. The Meeple taking the title, becoming the Meeple's champion for real in both card and Meeples. All the Meeples will support him.
Yes.
Coming
for you, Booker. Coming for you.
I like that booking. Would you be ready for it if it happened in 2 weeks at Origins?
Yeah, it sounds like that's gonna be the absolute first match booked, and I come in the night before. So I would be ready for that.
There we go. All right. You hear that, Calais? The Meeple is ready to take on your champion. Or not really your champion. The guy that stole the belt and now you're kind of stuck with him.
The champion that you now have.
Which, let's face it, he doesn't want that champion. A lot of Union verse in here just going, I'm not ready for any of that. What is this? We got...
Like I said, they're
Squirrel Man Duck versus us. What in the world is that?
Okay, so let me give you a background on all of that.
Please.
Junk that we put in there. So
Chipmunk, construction worker, duck.
So this Aflac duck, I brought onto stream the first time that I played in a dojo.
Mhm.
And, it was still a lot of the, we don't like the Unionverse, we don't like the Unionverse. But then I got a couple of comments saying, you know what? You won my heart when you brought the duck on. And so we kind of adopted the Aflac duck with the hard hat as our Union duck and kind of our first mascot. So whenever you see the American flag and then the duck, it is not a different pronunciation of Duck America, as some people might think as a negative, but it is a salute to America, because as we were first ramping up, Slamilton came in and there was a lot coming out of Calais. God bless America, God bless Big Match Pete, God bless the LFF. And we kind of took a hold of that. God bless Slamilton, God bless the Unionverse. And so American flag and duck. And then the foreman has started adding more and more to it with construction hats, a salute, the squirrel for Jared Bridge, a safety pin for our member Safe T with a capital T, Timothy, and then the roach, because we recently added in the roach as well to our mix.
The roach.
So that is the explanation of where all of those emojis are coming from.
Okay. Cool. How many total members are in the Unionverse? Ask the Italian mama.
I believe we have a total of 10. I'd have to look at the group chat here and
Yeah, I believe it's 10 so far. I think I counted last night.
count it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 in the group chat, and I believe
Oh, definitely a
Joe.
superfection.
Yeah, Joe is working on his 10-year-old to jump in as well. And Joe's initial want out of the Unionverse was to transition from a faction into a promotion, and so that's where he created the UCW, and that was kind of his end goal. So now that we're getting the union a little bit larger, it's purposeful to have it grow just a little bit more so that we can have two factions split from it, as some people like to be more heel and some people like to be more Newman, and kind of make a divide there going into faction wars.
We have a lot of last-minute questions. Johnny asks, do you agree that it's time that the Meeple and Garment need to form a tag team?
I'm down for whatever. Like there's something in the mix soon that you're gonna see come out of the Unionverse. It's all gonna start with my big match against that stinky piglet on Sunday Night Fights.
All right. And we also have, how is the Unionverse going to decide what 6 members will play on the Faction Wars team? Or will you just grab 2 more people so you have 2 Faction Wars?
That is the current idea, is to expand it so that we can fill 2 rosters of 6. But we've also been in discussions with, if we stay where we're at, there are some members that don't necessarily enjoy online play. And we have had other members to put up their hands saying they'd be fine being either an alternate or more of a coach and letting other faction members who want to dive in get that spot. So we are fine either way.
Okay. You have two teams. You will automatically face each other in round one. Okay. Oh yeah, definitely don't want to. Would be other alternatives. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's all of the questions that I had for you, Craig. Dustin, any last ones before we go into our last segment?
um, uh, I don't really don't have. You pretty much answered a bunch that I was actually wanting to get at today, but I'm really looking forward to doing more promos. I think our promos are gonna kill it. I love doing the news bit that I do for y'all. It's awesome. I love doing it. So I'm looking forward to more challenges and building up.
Okay. Well, then, this is at the point where we ask you to flip the script on us and ask myself and Dustin one last question.
All right. So Dustin, you joined the Unionverse after being a free agent for a while, having had your own persona out here running this show. Two-parter. Tell me how you came about joining the Unionverse, either asking to join or being approached, to and why you wanted to join the Unionverse. And then second part is how long do you think your longevity is going to be with the Unionverse? Is it going to be a long term, you have a nice home here, or this is a nice place to park your hat?
I love your question. That's a really good question. For me, I had been a free agent for it'd be about 3 years, and the last faction I was in was Impact at the time, and which I was going through some personal, I even at one time took a break from the game and stuff like that. But um, my thing with y'all is I met Joseph a few times, the foreman, and and seeing what y'all were doing at BSOs at the CAC and stuff like that, and I got to talk to him a little bit, and one thing that really stuck out to me too is I was getting at misos, I was actually getting sick, and Joseph is the first person that come to me and said, if you need me anytime, and it really meant the world to me. And I put out, see here, what, 2 or 3 months ago, about 3 months ago now, I want to say, I was kind of looking for a faction. And excuse me, I was kind of wanting to get back into the swing because a faction, it to me is always it's helpful in a way. I've been away from the game for a little bit. There was a bunch of cards that I'm still learning. Nothing crazy, but still learning and stuff like that. I've been playing for a very long time, so I've got the experience. I know how to play in faction wars and just about every stipulation there is. But and then I got to see y'all's roster, and there's a bunch of y'all that I didn't know, and sometimes a lot of people are like, I guess my way of thinking was there's a bunch of new players. Well, maybe my experience can be very helpful in a way. If you have questions or anything like that, I'm always here to answer. Um, we've seen super factions before, like Impact have all kinds of, they at one time have so many titles and I guess I don't like saying big names, but like big names in the game and stuff like that, and become super factions. My way of seeing it as it's a fresh start, and kind of like having you on today, I'm getting to know you more, even though we're in the same faction. We don't sit here and talk about all of our interests, but I've seen it as a fresh start, and Joseph, getting to know him and stuff like that really meant the world to me. So I kind of I took it as a fresh start, and I see myself staying. I really do. I've enjoyed it. I got to bring out another persona that I hadn't brought out in like years, and that's my true American guy. I still have my GPS that I do stuff with. I kind of act like he's not a, he's a totally different entity, but factions universe and unionverse, and I'm really enjoying what we're doing. I really am.
Awesome. Glad to have you on the team.
You have one for me?
Yeah. Um, so you are in a lot of the different circles, hearing a lot of the different conversations. So tell me from your perspective and what you heard, um, the thoughts about the Unionverse as a whole and the Foreman versus regular guy Joe and what he's built so far.
So, from different people, some people love you, some people hate you. Everyone loves simple or normal guy Joe,
Regular guy Joe?
regular
Yeah.
guy Joe. Everyone loves that guy because he's just a regular guy. The Foreman has done 2 different strikes at my Thursday night events, which I do not appreciate. Granted, they got their butts kicked anyway, so it's not like there's any big deal there. But
Right.
the fact that they would attempt such a thing was kind of annoying.
Oh, let me jump in on that real quick.
Yeah.
You had a slight heads up, but less than I thought you were given, and you played it so perfectly in the setup of that first night. Where it was like, wait, what's happening? Okay. Foreman, who are you playing? Snake Pit. Meeple, who are you playing? Snake Pit. And he just kept on, and it became a vibe that night. And I think, not knowing what the overall reaction would be, it became a very fun spectacle, especially since we were the bullies that didn't win.
Yeah.
It was very entertaining for us, and hopefully for some other folks too.
I think it. And there's no big deal about any of it. It was all in good fun no matter what. I just like rolling with it when I know it's gonna cause some people to go, "Oh, what?" Because you could see some people's faces during that Zoom room where it was just people just going, "What, what, what, what?"
and and then it can't, somebody showed up late, they're not even in the union, they're like, oh, let me guess, you're gonna play Snake Pit too, huh?
No. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. It was great to talk to you. It was great to get to know the mind behind the Meeple's champion, the the gimmick, the Meeple. It was a pleasure talking with you.
Thanks for having me on the show.
Mm-hmm. Dustin, who do we have for next week?
Next week is kind of a little bit up in the air, but I'm gonna double check, make sure. Just right now, I still got some openings. Um, we'll wait and I'll announce it hopefully by the weekend.
Oh, okay. Okay, we'll wait. Okay, until then,
Um,
folks.
Sorry, I just want
ahead.
to say thank you, Greg, for being in here. It was good to get to know you. Like I said, I'm looking forward to meeting up and stuff like that in near future, of course, and just trying to I guess best way to put it is bring it home. Let's bring some wins and have some fun with these promos. I'm looking forward to it.
Definitely.
All right. And until next time, guys, can I get a bye, man?
Bye, man.
See y'all later.